The architect of the national security strategy under Trump and heavily rumoured to feature prominently in a future Trump administration, former US Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defence Elbridge Colby joins me now for more. It's been a little while since we spoke. Bridge, thank you so much for your time. Give me an overview of the world as you see it now.
Great to be back with you, Aaron, although not on a happy topic. I don't think things are going well at all. The war in Ukraine looks, unfortunately, like it's going to, at best, continue for some time, and I don't think the situation is going very well. Even with the passage of the U.S. supplemental, the Russians are continuing to move forward and throwing a lot more resources into the effort, including opening up another front in the north near Kharkiv. In the Middle East, unfortunately, the war with Hamas continues. Obviously, in I think my view and your view, Israel is right to go after Hamas, which is a lot of its military capability is still resident in Rafah. Obviously, there is a human tragedy there that can't be denied or minimized. But Hamas was the one who initiated this with a barbaric attack on Jewish people in Israel. So that's going on. The Houthis are still out there. The North Koreans are testing missiles at a high rate, and their rhetoric has intensified. And then, of course, the situation around Taiwan continues to be very dangerous and not getting any better. Lai Ching-te, the new president of Taiwan, gave his inaugural speech the other day, which elicited some pretty strong words from China. And then even today, we're talking on May 23rd, the Chinese are conducting significant military drills, it appears, around Taiwan. So things are bad, and I think, unfortunately, they're set to get worse.
Absolutely. And in terms of China's response to that speech, and I think it was something along the lines of undefined retribution, what do you think that changes, if anything, when it comes to the Communist Party's plan to reclaim Taiwan?
What they're doing is totally consistent with a military solution to the Taiwan problem. And the fact that Lai Ching-te, the DPP candidate, was elected makes it obvious that there's really no peaceful solution. And the KMT, and the TPP, the other parties on Taiwan, are not in favor of unification, certainly not in the near term. So it's pretty clear. I agree with the kind of the text or subtext of your question, Aaron, which I don't think actually that it really matters what Lai Ching-te said. What Lai Ching-te said might have made it a bit easier for China by providing a bit more of a pretext for what they already wanted to do. I don't think Taiwan should put its head any further in the dragon's mouth, frankly. What it should be doing is keeping the dragon away and building up its shield and sword and working out at the gym. Unfortunately, that's not really happening. And so I think we're set for, at minimum, a very turbulent few years, and it could be far worse than that.
Well, I think, to use your own phrase, Bridge, if you don't mind me borrowing it, something along the lines of speak softly but carry a big stick. And you seem to think Taiwan's doing the complete opposite. I
think they're doing the complete opposite. Not only are they sort of talking a big game about Beijing, and I'm not saying Beijing is right, but if you're facing off with a dragon, you should be careful about what you say around the dragon, right? That's just sort of prudence, right? That's because I take it seriously. What we should all be doing, and I'm stealing it from Teddy Roosevelt, so I can't claim credit, but it's a good policy, which is, when you're dealing with somebody really dangerous with a Russian bear or a Chinese dragon, or pick your animal analogy, you should treat it with respect. It doesn't mean you like it or approve of it, but a sort of a caution around it, even as you strengthen yourself. And that's really not what's happening. I'm here in South Korea, where that is, they spend 2.8% of their GDP on defense. They have universal conscription, at least male conscription. Very serious country that takes its security very seriously. Much different feeling in Taiwan, and the threat to Taiwan is much greater than it is to South Korea.
President Trump, a lot of talk that you will play a big role in his administration if he's re-elected. What's your understanding of the situation, and would you want that?
Thanks, Aaron. I mean, let me be very clear. I don't speak for President Trump. I don't speak for his campaign, and I certainly don't make any presumptions about playing any role in his future administration. I would be honored to serve in his administration, and I hope he wins. And whatever capacity I end up in or out of the government, I will be supporting him and his approach, which I understand, America first. Again, I don't speak for him, but I think America first is the way I think about it is a practical foreign policy that's looking to be in the interests of regular Americans. And that's totally consistent with other countries, especially strong allies like Australia. The External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, who's a brilliant guy, he wrote a piece recently called Bharat, or India First. And it's exactly the same kind of mindset, which is to say, look, we're going to look after India. We don't have to be ashamed of our past or whatever. We don't have to be ashamed of what we're doing in the world. It's a tough world out there. We're going to make the best of it. And I think that's the foreign policy that our country desperately needs. And despite a lot of, hemming and hawing about President Trump being elected, I think it would be better for most countries in the world. I mean, I was talking to a British reporter recently who said, well, don't you think that, how would you compare President Biden's foreign policy and President Trump's? I'd say, well, I'd take President Trump's 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. Look at, biggest land war in Europe without a potential end, biggest attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And now when the Israelis are trying to go in and get to the bottom of Hamas in Rafah, the administration is kind of passively, aggressively, hammering them. And then a lot of talk. It's all talk, but very little delivery. So, maybe it's time for America to be more in the sort of spirit of, maybe we won't be as romantic and nostalgic and promise you the world. Maybe we'll kind of promise you a little bit less and be a bit honest that, things should work out for Americans, but we'll deliver on that. And we'll look to collaborate with people who have a similar mindset. I think whatever role I play, I think that's what we desperately need.
Elbridge Colby, thank you so very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Great pleasure always.